Next, we have a presentation on emerging technology in cybersecurity by Cnergee, presented by Shri Sameer Kanse, Chief Business Officer. With over 24 years of experience across telecom, IT, and media tech, Shri Kanse will now share his insight. May I invite Shri Sameer Kanse to please take the stage.
Thank you. However times you do this, it's always nice to hear a resume from, so third party. India has scored 324 for 7, so let's get that out of the way. Heads finally been bowled out, so we still have a hope of winning this one. So all bankers here, anyone recognizes what this is? Come on. Chai milega iske baad yaar. Wake up. This is the precursor to your SWIFT of today. This is how, when telegraph started and when you are facing congestion in the last mile, when you had to transmit the message from London city centre to the banks in London, you use pneumatic tubes. So the telegraph would come to London city centre, London post office. From there, you would use pneumatic tubes, technically tubes with the telegram inside, put it in, and it would go to that bank. Right? That, in a way, was your original LAN network. Right? The problem with this, and then it stopped. It went on for a good 20 years, and then it stopped. It stopped because there was a human touch in between. Anyone could actually look at the telegram, read it, and you were transmitting messages of whose money is to go where. There used to be stock market transactions, buy, sell, all of that going through all these pneumatic tubes, right? And so that human touch is what eliminated this system. Of course, pneumatic tubes are still used today. In touchless banking, if you go for drive-through banking, they used to use pneumatic tubes. But this human touch still exists in today's networks. And that human touch comes in the form of either a negligent or inadvertent user, but more often than not, a malicious employee. We were just talking about identity access management. IDAM and identity access management works when it is not a malicious employee. But if someone intentionally or being bribed decides to do and have some malicious intent, then there is very little that is done today. And that is enabled because if you see, you do allow direct network access to your devices. Most of your network devices have a GUI and a CLI to log into the box and implement policies, right? It's like saying you have the greatest gatekeeper, but you have given someone the access to that gatekeeper, right? You also have today, ability to log in, GUI, CLI, and then you operate often with files being allowed to inserted, REST APIs, architecture not being implemented and not necessarily being validated. And we had a great issue in this year itself where because of non-API validation, some of Cisco's machines were compromised by sending an HTTP request. Right? This is akin to human intervention of the pneumatic tubes of age-old era in your network. SWIFT finally came in, and of course there were competitors to SWIFT, as there always Citibank wanted to push its own thing in, but SWIFT prevailed because it was largely a touch-free process. Now, of course, with WikiLeaks coming in and our friend Snowden having proved that even that's not touch-free and there is, someone sitting in between. But apart from that, it's not human intervention. But we still deal in human intervention here. And the reason is that we are generally in cybersecurity focused on the LAN and the device and the user access end of the things. It's like, when we were children and, more or less all of us are in the same age group, or so I would like to believe, that in our childhood there were more ads of Saffola than of Lakme, right? Now there are more ads of cosmetics than of Saffola equivalent. So we are all more worried about pedicures, manicures and looking good and not necessarily about our heart. The network is the heart of everything. You can protect your end devices, you can do cyber security, antivirus, all of that over there. But if someone gets access to your network, that's it. Everything else fails because I got access to your heart of your systems. And that is what is ignored, and that's where most of your attacks have happened today. Let's take one simple example. Traditional SD-WANs, the way they operate, you typically have any sort of, banks still largely deal in MPLS networks. You would have 2 MPLS links or 1 MPLS, 1 lease line link in some cases, and you would have 4 sessions which would get created. You would then move traffic through one of those links and do load balancing on the others. For some of you who have visited a stall, this is a repeat telecast, so please bear with me, Gurmitji. But that's how traditionally you would move traffic. Now, if you have a man-in-the-middle attack, your entire session is hijacked, and the intruder gets access to the entire session. There's nothing you can do about it, right? There have been instances where attackers have been latent in the system for over 5 years and have harvested data and then been discovered by chance, right? US infrastructure is a recent case, February 2024, where it came to light that for 5 years, there was a man in the middle who was looking into all the sessions and all the information, and then it came to light, right? There is dynamic routing in all of this, which itself is vulnerable, allows you spoofing, allows you attacks where you can capture passive hello packets and then use them to completely change routing tables. So a lot of these vulnerabilities exist. Why do they exist? Because we moved from the world of saying, I have a Cisco router and I do MPLS and I do route-based planning to the modern so-called software-defined architectures. But what we did is that we continued using the same frameworks and the same tools and the same methodologies. It's like saying that I used to have a server farm, I moved to AWS, but I'm still configuring it the same way that I used to configure a server farm. It doesn't work. If you change technology, the rules of engagement need to change. The world has moved in a lot of cases to packet-based solutions. Same instance, you have 2 links, MPLS, ILL, whatever. If you are in a packet-based network, you are creating multiple sessions between those links, taking each packet, pumping it through different sessions in the link. If you have a man-in-the-middle attack, he gets access to few packets, which are encrypted. The other flaw in your network today, and I come from a telco background, so I hope there is no one from Tatacom or Airtel or Vodafone over here. MPLS networks encryption keys don't change for months together. And we all know that an AES 256-bit encryption key today can be broken by brute force under 12 hours. So I can hack your MPLS network. Anyone who believes otherwise, let's talk outside. But they are hackable. Okay? So MPLS is not the pinnacle of security, no longer, right? So if your encryption keys don't change, that's another risk that you're exposed to. So packet-based solutions offer you a much secure solution because you're not going to have, one, they are of course resource frugal, 2, your man-in-the-middle attack chances go down, and you're also improving the performance because your ability to manage the movement between links, between sessions, in a session-based network is less because you can't change at every link flap. It will create severe disruptions in your network if you keep changing links continuously. But in a packet-based, you can take a decision on every packet. You can encrypt every packet, and you can have control of every packet that you send through the network. So much secure methodologies which are implemented. Now, some examples. Now people will think that I'm speaking in ether, and because of course, Cnergee does some of these things, I'm biased towards it, right? But here are some examples of the attacks that I spoke about, right? CLI injection vulnerabilities, I have intentionally removed the names of the vendors. Not appropriate on my part to say that, but I'm pretty sure many of you being in the industry will guess all of this. There was a CLI injection vulnerability allowed authenticated users to take admin credentials and execute random commands. Going to the machine, accessing the CLI on the machine, and then doing that. In today's banking networks, where you have anywhere north of 10,000 devices, how many of us exactly have a different login ID password for each machine, which gets changed every time a field engineer leaves the job? Not possible. So there is someone out there who is not a part of your system, knows the login ID password to your core router firewall. All he needs is access to it to change your policies. And we have all seen spy movies that, even the Kohinoor can be stolen by the rightfully motivated people. So getting physical access to the firewall is much easier. The Typhoon VPN exploit is very well known. Again, this is what I was talking about. Stayed latent for 5 years and could actually, look at all the session traffic and could decrypt it for a long period of time. VPN exploits, we still use a lot of SSL VPN for remote users, and that has been exploited by sending an HTTP request. And finally, DHCP, dynamic routing. That's the oldest protocol, the most vulnerable protocol, but everyone we go to wants an OSPF RIP, because let's give them respect, Cisco, but the world has moved on. There are other and better ways to do things, but we are still somehow stuck in OSPF RIP. There are better and efficient static routing methodologies which exist to prevent these kind of vulnerabilities in the network. And it's not only banking. These attacks have been on various infrastructures, right? There are this data which is published by CERT, which talks about, various vulnerabilities in various infrastructure who technically don't even touch the internet. And somehow there is this whole thing in our mind that if it touches the internet, it becomes insecure. It does not. Today, no telco has a completely independent MPLS and internet network. The POP is the same. The pipe is the same. The network is the same. If you are saying IP routing is different, then that can be done through VLANs over the internet too. So there is no reason to believe that a point-to-point link or an MPLS link is anyway more safer than an encrypted tunnel being sent over a mobile broadband. Same technology, right? This is the average loss from every incident that happens at a network level from a malicious employee. The numbers are big because when it's a malicious employee, the detection takes time because he's an insider. He knows the rules of your game. He knows how to play the engine. So the detection takes time, hence the losses are higher. In summary, I have got some time left. I'll give it back to the organizers. So 4 key things. 1, start considering packet-based rather than session-based. I'm not the only one who does it. Juniper does it very well. No GUI CLI should now become an industry standard. I have seen RFPs which specifically mention you should have GUI CLI, and I'm like, really? You should specifically be saying that there should be no GUI CLI to manage your network devices. It should only be accessible from a portal based on clear identity access management. Otherwise, what's the point of implementing the PIM, PAM, SailPoint, all of that, if someone can just walk into the box, plug in, and do whatever you want? So there must be an insistence in RFPs that you should not have a GUI CLI, and everything must only be remote. Secure by design, now the recent fiasco that we had on Checkpoint or several others have always pointed to the issues with OpenOS. And OpenOS will have vulnerabilities. The point is that it's open. It's there to be exploited by people. And you cannot use it in a secure network infrastructure. So wherever and whoever uses an OpenOS, and if you have that in your system, it is exposing you to a network attack. It's exposing you to a zero-day attack. Highest chances of a zero-day attack come when you have an OpenOS. So OpenOS is something that you need to look out for, not only in network devices, but everywhere, right? And finally, encryption keys rotation is a must because brute force and your compute power has increased so greatly thanks to our friends in China who have made substantial money from it that most encryption keys can be broken given enough time and effort and motivation, right? So you have to rotate the encryption key. That's the only way that Dan Brown has taught us. If all of you are fans of his series, right? So that's the only way that you can protect yourself. Finally, yes, one slide on Cnergee. That yes, we do a lot of these things. We are an integrated platform providing not only your WAN, but an integrated platform providing you LAN, managed Wi-Fi, and the firewall features. I wouldn't want to spend too much time on that here. We have a booth. Anyone interested, happy to have a conversation. That's it from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, sir.